everyone, happy National Handwriting Day. For those of you who hang out with me a little more often, you know that I make beauty, lifestyle, and DIY, which includes a lot of lettering videos on my channel. So today I wanted to make a handwriting video because handwriting is one of my favorite things in the world. I'm not sure why, but I get compliments on it all the time, so hopefully at least one of you out there will enjoy my handwriting and deem me worthy of someone who can make this video. This is not for people who want to learn how to write. This is not for younger people who don't know how to write yet. This is for people who want to change up their handwriting stylistically, make it a little cooler, or improve it. So I'm going to teach you guys how I did that throughout the ages. Wow, I'm 792. But I actually did come up with the ideas that I'm going to share with you years ago when I was in middle school and I was shaping my handwriting. So let's do it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is it's not really a rule. It's just more like an attitude. Be flexible. Chill. You know, I find when you, not you personally, but we as people are trying to learn something new or get better at something, if we beat up on ourselves, it can be super discouraging. And the quickest way to stop improving at something is to discourage yourself to the point that it's not fun. So I'm a huge believer in everything that I teach, that flexibility is key. Some days you're going to have crappy handwriting days. It just is what it is. I actually felt like my handwriting kind of sucked the day that I filmed this video. Who cares? Some days our handwriting isn't as good as others, just like some days we're in a little bit worse of a mood than others. Another reason to stay flexible is because whether or not you like it, your handwriting is going to change over time. It's going to evolve and it's going to grow and be different whether or not you try to shape it. So you might as well just chill about it because there are some things that you are changing and altering and doing that you're not even aware of. The second thing that you want to do to make sure that you have awesome handwriting or to improve or grow your handwriting is to practice. Again, just like everything else, practice is key to improvement. I will do some practice exercises with you later after we kind of go through every step here. But let me tell you why practice is really going to help you with your handwriting. Your hand has a ton of small muscles in it. Small muscles that you aren't even aware of having. And when you build those strong muscles up, it helps your hand to carry out your handwriting with precision and endurance. So you're going to be able to write beautifully for long periods of time once you build up those small muscles. Another thing is that when you repeat letters over and over again, you're creating fluidity in your brain by building muscle memory. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of muscle memory. Your brain has this amazing way of making patterns in your muscles, and it just like remembers how to do something. So if you are a baseball player, if you're a calligrapher, if no matter what you do, whatever skill you do that requires your muscles, your brain creates patterns so that it can just track it, knock it out of the park, and do it without you even having to think about it. And then another thing that I believe in is creating a really strong link between your brain and your hand. So your brain is connected to your spinal cord. Axon runs from your spine to your hand. And when you want to do something, your brain fires messages that hop along the axon to your hand. I know, wow, this got really physiological. Strengthening that connection, that firing space, I personally believe really helps. I believe that I can create a stronger bond between this hand and my mind if I work it, just like I don't have a very strong connection with my non-dominant hand because I haven't worked it. I believe in that. I don't know if it's proven by science, but I believe in it. And then the last thing is that you want to practice everything. Make sure that you're not just writing the same letters over and over again, because while not all letters are used in the same frequency, they are important and you do want to practice them all. You don't want to have any weak spots in the chain that is your delicious handwriting. And it's just true that some letters are harder to write than others, and frequently it's those ones that we use less commonly. The next thing you want to do is emulate and expand. You want to be experimental with your lettering. And you don't want to just experiment with your letter styles. You also want to experiment with different pens, pencils, and supplies. Even the paper that you're writing on can create a completely different feeling underneath your pen and can have an effect on your handwriting. So definitely find the pens and supplies that you like. I'm going to show an example really quick right now of how my handwriting looks with different pens. I personally feel a huge change in the supply that I'm using. And I definitely have a preference. I definitely have certain pens that I think my personal style of handwriting looks better with and just work better for me. Find yours and use yours so that you can get the best results possible that you're seeking. And then as far as the lettering goes and creating your different letter shapes, you're going to want to experiment with different types of letters, and you want to come up with different types of ways to write each letter. Okay, so if you see some handwriting that you really, really like, emulate those letters. I used to work with someone who made awesome T's, and I worked them right into my handwriting. I don't use those T's anymore, but I loved using them back then. So using other people's styles of letters can shape what we create at the time, whether or not we incorporate them into our work forever. So I highly recommend it. It just really helps you expand and get out of your own personal box of thinking that we've created for ourselves. We all have them. It's cool. And remember, always give credit where credit is due. And then another really important part of this part, which is kind of incredibly obvious, but it isn't always, is that you have to actually force yourself to stop doing things that you don't like. So I'm with you in thinking that this also sounds incredibly obvious, and some people might be like, well, why would you keep doing something you don't like? Because we just get in these habits and we don't even know we're doing these things. I absolutely hated this style of why it got left with me for middle school. Like, it was a big trend in middle school, but I literally hate it. So I had to stop doing it. And I did. It's not cute to me. It's just part of something you have to do, is break your bad habits with handwriting. And then number 4 is to go with what works for you. I know that a lot of us probably picked up on some practices from high school. I mean, not from high school, from elementary school, or whoever taught us how to write. They taught us these certain standards that we had to use. I know a lot of us probably had those like lined papers, and we had to do certain things to make our letters quote unquote right. Well, you've graduated from that. We have moved on. You have learned the rules, and now you can break them. What works for people is different. And if what is working for you is not working for someone else, who cares? Keep doing your thing. If something is comfortable and working for you, roll with it. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're getting the results that you want, you're good. And then some random little things I wanted to mention. It's easier for me to write on a stack of paper than just a bare surface because the texture underneath can be rough and it can totally change my handwriting. So I definitely recommend writing on a pad of paper versus a single piece of paper. I also think stretching your hands really helps. So you can feel in your hands tightness and where you need to stretch. And like I said, you are doing a muscular activity, and with any other muscular activity, when you work muscles, you stretch them, you let them rest, all that good stuff. So do be respectful of your hands as you work and write, because they do tire like anything else. Respect the manos. Okay, so now we can walk through some practice activities. And one thing that I did want to mention really quick is that you actually have multiple different alphabets that you work with on a regular basis, from your print, your cursive, your all caps, your combinations thereof. So this list right here is the different alphabets that are in my structure of handwriting. So one way that I practice was just to repeat writing the letters. So I would write the uppercase letter and then its lowercase counterpart, and then just do that throughout the entire alphabet. I like to leave a space in between the alphabet. That way I can go back in, and for each set of letters, try to write the letter just a little bit differently. So by writing out the entire alphabet, its uppercase and its lowercase, I got to practice every single letter at once in both forms. And then by going back through and trying to create a different looking letter for each letter that I had already written, it helped me expand my style and practice a little bit further. And sometimes you'll get to a letter where you're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to create a different letter or how to make this look different. And that's where it's really cool. That's where you're really having to stretch your creativity and expand. And so that's how it gets really fun, in my opinion. And, you know, by the way, if you can't think of another way to do a letter, it's cool. Just move on or write it the same or Google it. We live in a wonderful day and age where we have access to endless amounts of art, inspiration, and information. So go for it. And then again, another thing that I liked to do to practice my handwriting was just to write out the letters repeatedly in their single forms either all uppercase or all lowercase. I find that activity to be helpful because it helps you to practice your handwriting, but it looks a little bit neater, so you kind of want to keep going. Hopefully you know what I mean by that. And I also think that you want to be creating pretty results, and that looks a little bit prettier than the exercise that we just did. So it helps you to just keep going, keep pushing, keep moving it along. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, you want to be encouraged to keep doing what you do. And then finally, another exercise that I would do was just choose one letter and write it out on a single line as many different ways as I could. So that's what I did with my T here. As you can see, I created as many different stems to the T, whether they were just a straight line or whether they looped down at the bottom or whether they had a little bit more of an angular curve than a circular curve at the bottom when they looped. And then you also can play with your crossbars from perpendicular crossbars to a little bit more angular crossbars, higher or lower crossbars, as well as some squiggly crossbars. So as you can see, letters are deceptive. They're incredibly simple, but you can change them in subtle ways that gives a completely different vibe to the individual letter. And that's what you see going on here with the T. And then finally, I accidentally skipped this exercise. That's why you see so much other stuff going on the paper right now. But when I find a letter that I really like and I wanted to cement that into my handwriting, I would just choose one line and then I would write that letter on the entire line so that my letters would be more fluid, that they would be more precise, and that they would be more consistent. So by writing the letter over and over and over and over, the exact way that you want it, in the exact shape and letter form, creates that muscle memory in your brain, so your brain knows exactly the shape that you're trying to create, and then it makes it so that you can create that shape faster and more consistently. Burns that shape into your brain so that it knows, this is how Carter makes A's. You know? And then finally, I wanted to share, if you want to make sure that you're practicing every single letter under the sun equally, the perfect sentence to write is, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, because it has every single letter in the alphabet. There are a couple others, but that's the one I'm familiar with, so that's the one I'm going to recommend to you guys. Oh, and then don't forget, italics exist. Another thing that you can play with is the slant of your letters. So in the first example of the quick brown fox sentence, I wrote straight up and down. And then the second example of the quick brown fox letter, I wrote slanted more forward. I actually love my handwriting when it's slanted more forward. That's a really fun and unique way to change your handwriting up and make it look a little more cool. Those are all the tips and exercises that I have for you guys today. Leave me your best tips for changing and improving your handwriting down in the comment section down below. I hope that you enjoy. Remember, handwriting isn't supposed to be perfect. That is why we're all loving it today. In an age where we are so consumed with fonts, we are falling in love with the subtle and beautiful art that is hand lettering. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for being part of the collection of people on the planet that loves things that are handwritten. I am so with you. Let's keep it alive. Thank you for watching again. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon. Bye. P.S. Did I mention that my birthday is actually National Handwriting Day? I didn't plan that. My mom did.